Hi guys, a very good morning. Mamukase. I'm sorry I'm late, but I hope that I will be able to talk about this issue. So we are talking about educated Zimbabweans or literate Zimbabweans who are not educated. So a lot of Zimbabweans can read, a lot of Zimbabweans can write, but the majority of the Zimbabwean people are not educated. I'm not insulting, but we need to talk about this so that we correct everything we are doing wrong, so that we bring Zimbabwe to a different level. So, quality education, it provides all learners with capabilities required to become economically productive, develop sustainable livelihoods, contribute to peaceful and democratic societies, and enhance individual well-being. That is my definition of quality education. For me to be educated myself, for me to call myself an educated person, I must not have a degree. I must not have a diploma. For me to call myself an educated person, I need to be able to be capable to become economically productive and have an ability to develop a sustainable livelihood. And also, I must be able to contribute to the peaceful and democratic society and make sure that I enhance individual life well-being. If I am failing to do that, I am not educated. So I've been looking at myself and some people, and I realize that the majority of us, we are not educated. We are just trained people. We are trained, but we are not educated. We are literate, we can read, we can write, so that we can be programmed. We are programmed people, we do what we are told to do. We are not independent. An educated person is an independent person. When you are educated, you feel the independence, you begin to see the need for independence. Why? When you try to go an extra mile, you see obstacles and you fight to remove those obstacles. So the reason why I say the most Zimbabweans are not educated is because they fail to go to the extent or to the extremes of making sure that they bring the extraordinary kind of Zimbabwe or a kind of lifestyle. We rely on getting jobs. We rely on other people doing everything for us. We rely on what they tell us. So there was a time where people like Chamisa went to open they went to open some beans somewhere, and a lot of people flocked there, and they were clapping hands for somebody who was cutting a ribbon for a bean. And these are people who claim to be educated. How can I be educated and at the same time clap hands for somebody who is commissioning bean? Honestly speaking, how can I be educated and at the same time clap hands for somebody who is opening a bean? There is no educated people who tolerate such nonsense. How can I be educated and at the same time go and clap hands for a bucket? How can I be educated and at the same time go and clap hands for somebody giving us a cup of rice? How can I be educated and do that? Honestly speaking, I don't know where the people are getting the definition of education, because a lot of Zimbabweans, they say Zimbabweans are educated, Zimbabweans are this, Zimbabweans are that. No, Zimbabweans are trained, are just trained people. They're just trained people to deal with specific issues. But when you are educated, you go an extra mile. When you are educated, you go, you have some special qualities in you, which makes you capable of doing different things. Are we economically productive? as Zimbabweans? No, we are not economically productive. Why? We are being treated as slaves. We are benefiting nothing from the economy of Zimbabwe. As Zimbabweans, we are benefiting nothing. Why? We are not educated. If we were educated, we would have taken our ground, we have taken a stance to make sure that we are economically productive. Do we have sustainable livelihoods? No, we don't. Why? This is the reason why you see somebody is working, Kuba, under 20 years, you have been working, up to 65 years, you have been working. After 65 years, you are still working for your family. Our grandfathers and our grandparents are still working for us. Why? They don't have sustainable livelihoods. If they had sustainable livelihoods, they would have prepared in time for their retirement. They would have put in place things for the day of their retirement. But they have failed to go into retirement, and they are in their 80s and 90s. Why? It's because they failed to have sustainable livelihood as a result of lack of education. Are we contributing to peaceful and democratic societies? No. The majority of the Zimbabweans are not voting. Why are they not voting? It's because they are not educated. If they were educated, they will realize some opportunities which are in Zimbabwe, and they will see the obstacle that ZANU-PF is the obstacle. And they will know very well that the removal of ZANU-PF is going to benefit them more. But when you are not educated, you rely on other people. When you are not educated, you are not independent, you rely on other people. So when you rely on other people, you don't need to lose those people for you to survive. You need them. You depend on them. And a lot of people, just because they're not educated, they depend on ZANU-PF. An educated mindset is willing to leave his or her job because he is being treated differently. Myself, if I'm educated and I feel that somebody is ill-treating me at work and I'm being given the worst salary ever, I leave that job because I know that I'm educated, I know that I have capabilities to be economically productive. So I will leave that job without hesitation, knowing fully well that I will do well wherever I go. But because we are not educated, we pin our hopes on ZANU-PF politicians, we pin our hopes on the same people who are mistreating us, who are ill-treating us. It's because we are not educated. We are literate. We can read, we can write, we are trainable, but we are not educated. So basically, for us to continue and say Zimbabweans are educated, I believe that is a wrong term. I have come to realize that indeed we are not educated. Indeed, the majority of Zimbabweans are not educated because they struggle to see simple things. And here are the simple things. Go to any bank today. If you want to see that Zimbabweans are not educated, go into Harare today or in any town today. See the queues, the long queue you see at a bank. It demonstrates that Zimbabweans are not educated. Why? If Zimbabweans were educated, they won't stand in a queue for 5 hours. They won't get up early and go to join a queue as Zupco. They won't tolerate nonsense of going into a bank and say, I want to send money somewhere, and you are told to go on the black market to change RTGS into US dollars. Then you come to the bank and send it. It shows that you are not educated. If you were educated, you would have known the functions of a bank. An educated person should be able to read and understand, not only to read, should be able to read and understand the functions of a bank, know the functions of a bank. But when you are not educated, you go and queue at a bank for 10 hours, for 12 hours, and you treat everything as normal. Zimbabweans are willing to stand in a bank queue for hours, but they are not willing to stand in a voting line for hours. Why? It's because they're not educated. They don't know how their independence come from, how they gain their independence. Zimbabweans value English, good English. They value good English more. If you speak good English, Zimbabweans will flock to you. If you speak bad English, Zimbabweans will run away from you. Why? They think that being educated is speaking good English. So you can actually see that these are the people who say voting does not benefit us anything. How can you be educated and say so? How? Let me show you an example of people who are not educated. I'm not insulting people, but we need to tell the truth. I want to show you people who can read, people who can write, but they are not educated. These are the people who are willing to stand in queues for buckets, but they are not willing to go and change the status quo so that they can buy buckets for themselves. So let me show you this example. So educated people would easily see that we are being deceived, would easily see that these guys are playing with our minds, our time, and our future. An educated person will not queue for a bucket and a bottle of Pepsi. An educated person will not do that. An educated person will say, after I take this bucket, after I take this Pepsi, where am I going to get sadza at home? Where am I going to get school fees for the kids, uniforms for the kids, textbooks for the kids? Where am I going to get a clinic for me to get treated? Where am I going to get a good road? That is what an educated person will say. An educated person will ask, where am I going to get an ambulance to take me from to hospital when I get sick? That is what an educated person is going to say. But because we are not educated, we tolerate nonsense, we tolerate everything we see and everything we are told. That is the reason why, even if somebody makes something which is senseless, we just clap hands for them. Why? Because these are our demigods. We have created demigods. Why have we created demigods? It's because we are not educated. We go to South Africa and we brag, we are educated. Takaita say, if you are educated, why are you running away from your country? Why are you not fixing your country? Why are you not willing to fix your country? Why are you stampeding on the resources of other people? The fact that you are running away to South Africa, stampeding other people's resources, not willing to come for a day or to vote here in Zimbabwe, it shows that you are not educated enough to understand what needs to be done. Because education must guide you, must lead you, must give you capabilities. But this kind of education we have, it is doomed. It is doomed. We can read, we can write, but honestly speaking, we are not educated. Zimbabweans are willing to pay bribes. Zimbabweans are willing to go and pay bribes. If you need something, a Zimbabwean is willing to pay a $20, $50 bribe. For those who are looking for nursing opportunities, they are willing to pay bribes of up to $300. But those same Zimbabweans are not willing to go and contribute towards change. They are not willing to go and use the same resources they are willing to use for bribes. They are not willing to use the same resources to vote, to mobilize people to vote. $20 can send how many people from Glenview to town? $20 can send 20 people at 50 cents, at $1 each, 50 cents to town, and 50 cents to Glenview. It can fund 20 people to go and register to vote, but somebody is willing to take $20 and bribe somebody. How are you educated? Because education must tell you that you must know what to do and how to do it and when to do it. So when somebody is willing to finance bribery and corruption instead of financing elections and voting, it shows that person is not educated. That person is just a trained personnel who was trained how to use a fire extinguisher, who was trained how to do something, but does not know or is not educated. Because education must give you capabilities, and we are not. We are not educated. The first thing we need to fix as Zimbabweans is to fix our education, because education gives us knowledge of what is important, what is not important, what is a priority, what is not a priority. So you can actually see that Zimbabweans are ready to be beaten, to be tortured, to be raped, to be dehumanized in South Africa, in foreign lands. But they are not ready to face the same consequences during the election periods, changing their nation. They are not willing. We are not willing to do that. We fear to die. Zimbabweans will tell you, if you do politics, you die. But the same Zimbabweans will go into the Limpopo River. They will be eaten with crocodiles. Some of them will be swept away with the water currents in the Limpopo River. Some of them will be eaten by lions in the game parks along the Limpopo River. Some of them will be killed by magumas along the Limpopo River. Some of them will be raped along the Limpopo River. They are willing to go all through all those things, but they are not willing to face dictatorship in Zimbabwe. They're not willing to go and actually vote out ZANU-PF. They fear ZANU-PF to an extent where they will go and put an X that just because they have been intimidated, but they will still go and die in the Limpopo River. That is the extent of Zimbabweans. That is the extent of our people. And we claim to be educated. How are we educated? How? There is no difference. Dying in Limpopo River is just, there is no difference between dying in Limpopo River and dying, being beaten by a ZANU-PF politician. There is no difference. So why are we afraid as Zimbabweans? It's because we are not educated. If we were educated, we would have been enlightened to see. So basically, I know that if you are not educated, you look at short-term solutions instead of long-term solutions. You don't see the future. You don't see far. But when you are educated, you see far. You see beyond. What other people can't see, you see. What other people can't realize, you realize. Why? You now have the ability to see something extraordinary because of education. So education must bring independence, must bring capabilities, economic capabilities, must make us seek sustainable livelihoods, must make us contribute to peaceful and democratic societies. So if you want to see that somebody is not registered, is not educated, just tell them about voting. They will begin to tell you, hey, my elections are not rigged. Hey, mchaona kuti maticha tikaenda kanovhota nongorigwa ma-elections acho hazvina zvazvinobatsira. Mchaona kuti tikataura zvepolitics ticharohwa. Mchaona, those are the signs of an uneducated person. It shows that that person is not educated. If you want to say that somebody is not educated, go and tell them, Shamari, vote for me. He will ask you, unondiitirei kana kuti ndikuvotere. Begin to unpack your policy position to that person. Do I eat whatever you're telling me? Do I eat that? Why? He's not educated. He does not see opportunities in whatever you are telling him. But an educated person, when you begin to tell him how you are going to do it, he understands. For sure, this person is telling the truth. This is what is lacking in the economy. This is what is lacking in the country. So that person will vote for you because he knows very well that when you get into power, when you implement those policies, he is going to benefit. He is going to get opportunities. But an uneducated person is expecting you kuti kana akuvhotera ndochafanira kuuya neupfumba kwake, ndochafanira kubhadharira vana vake school fees, ndochafanira kutengera vana vake uniforms. He expects you to do everything for him. Uneducated people who are literate, who can read and write, what they do is that they will vote for beer, they will vote for my bucket, they will vote for Pepsi. They will vote for small things. Why? They can read, they can write, but they are not educated, they cannot see beyond. So it is our responsibility as Zimbabweans to educate each other, to educate ourselves. We need to understand that being educated does not mean you have a BSc, you have a master's, you have a PhD. That does not define an educated person. Your behavior, your ability to integrate into the society, into the community. So when you are somebody with a PhD, but you don't understand how basic things work, can you say Mnangagwa Samtuli is educated? Can you say John Mnangagwa is educated? If you tell me, you will never convince me that John Mnangagwa and Mtuli are educated. You will never convince me that people who support ZANU-PF and its surrogates are educated. You will never convince me. I don't know how you will convince me, but you will never. Why? These are the people who have failed to know the basics of the health sector, the principles of the health sector, the basics of an economy, of how an economy should function. These are the people who don't know the functions of the banks. And you tell me that they're educated. How are they educated? To me, they are not. So we have opportunists who come to say, hey, Takadziza, we are educated, but these are just trained people. Trained people who can just read and write and just can follow orders. So an ability to follow an order is not education. So Zimbabweans must know that wherever you go, don't brag about your education, please. It's an embarrassment because the reflection is on your economy, on your country called Zimbabwe. What does Zimbabwe offer? Nothing. Nothing. So let's begin to seek real education. Let's begin to look for real education. The day we will begin to look for real education, we will begin to see some opportunities we have never seen. The day you will become educated, you will begin to see opportunities after opportunities. And you begin to realize that, do you know that in Africa, in the whole Africa, at this moment, Zimbabwe is the best country in terms of opportunities. But it's the worst country in terms of education. It doesn't have educated people. So what happens is that because we are not educated, we don't see the opportunities. Because we are not educated, we don't see the barriers to the opportunities. ZANU-PF is the barrier to the opportunities. For us to be able to tap to the opportunities, ZANU-PF is preventing us. ZANU-PF is destroying every person with capability to tap into an opportunity without paying bribe, without being corrupt, without being exploited. So the day we will realize that, the day the majority of the Zimbabwean people will realize that, they will begin to go and actually fight ZANU-PF and actually remove ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF ukatoonekwa nehembe yeZANU-PF unotonyara kushaya pekupinda. munhu haafaniri kufamba akapfeka hembe yezanu. Do you know kuti kusvoreredza munhu chaiko chaiko, kungomusvereredza muchimuudza chokwadi, hakuna munhu ane common sense anofamba akapfeka hembe yezanu pia. Hakuna. Common sense chaidzo dzinokuudza wega kuti ashamari hembe haichapfekeka. Taimbozipfeka kumusha hembe dzezanu, taidzipfeka. But right now, it's very difficult for me to wear that t-shirt. Because the face raunenge wakatakura. Just imagine the embarrassment. Wakabereka the face romwe munhu. That person who is making you fail in life. And you call yourself educated. You are not. You are just a literate person who can read and write, but not educated. You are just a trained person who know how to do A, B, C, D, but you are not educated. When you become educated, you begin to see beyond. You begin to see things which are different. I know this is a topic which most Zimbabweans does not like, most Zimbabweans does not want, but I don't have any choice. I have to speak about it because we are here to tell each other the truth. We are here to tell each other the truth. When you are in South Africa, when you say voting does not change anything, know very well that even if you have a PhD, you are not educated. You are just a literate person who can read, who can write. So I think I have spoken much, and I don't need to spend more time on this issue. So let's meet in other episodes. Let's meet in other broadcasts.